This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can pick up some right now online at txbrewing.com. Join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club. Be a part of the community and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by Hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Pewterball family farm, Hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Primary versus secondary regulators, Keg Kit Fittings, and using a Spunding Valve for pressure fermentation. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 322. Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com. Click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call, leave a voicemail, get yourself a $25 gift card to 325-305-6107. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Stubing, joined as always by my co-host. First, he's the director of operations at cmbecker.com down there, Mr. James Carlson. And he's back. They're recovering from major intrusive or invasive neck surgery, Mr. Todd Burns, chief keg washer, of course, at kegconnection.com. Gentlemen, how's it going, Todd?
Good. How are you?
Oh my goodness, it's so good to see you. I feel like a jerk. The last two times I've seen you, I was just dying laughing. And I sympathize with your plight. I promise. It's just something about, I've known you for almost 15 years, and I swear you have to wear a neck brace for me to believe you have a neck. It's just been so.
That's true.
It is, isn't it? Wasn't that your nickname for the high school wrestling team? Was No Neck?
No neck. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but now you have a brace. It's like, look, guys, I do have a neck. How you are feeling good? Or I mean, you're only a week off of the major surgery. Is it still just excruciating?
It's not bad. I mean, I'm taking painkillers still, so that, I mean, if I wasn't taking painkillers, I would imagine it'd be extremely bad.
Yeah,
but I'm only taking half of what I'm supposed to, so, or what they prescribed. So
because you don't need the full. Is that? I mean, like, or it's like
I just don't want to take too many.
Yeah, I don't know. I do. I don't like when doctors give me stuff. I do as well, trying to self-regulate. Or I'm like, I don't need the full dose, or I'll just take normal Tylenol because I'm assuming they gave you probably hydrocodone or something.
Yeah.
The good stuff. Anyway, you do look good though for being a week out, and it was. I forgot that it wasn't just replacement. They went and undid your last net surgery stuff and then did the replacement, right?
Yeah, they took some of the hardware off. I mean, it was a fusion, the first one, so obviously it's still fused. They just took some of the hardware out. There was a screw that was in wrong, and it's kind of messing things up. So,
well, hopefully this one sticks for the long term, because I know the last surgery you had some initial relief. I remember that, but that was only 4 years ago, if even. Going
3
years ago. Okay, I thought it was 2019 that you had the net surgery. It was the end of 2019.
It was almost exactly 33 years ago. So yeah.
Dang. Well, yeah, glad you are recovering. James holding it down there at the fort. It's been a crazy week. I know you're kind of shorthanded and you were kind of having to run everything. So how's your week been, James?
Oh, it's not bad.
I like that. I called Monday and I know you were under control, but Lana answered the phone. So, can I talk to James? He's helping a customer. He's the only one. Call back later. I was like, she's got your badge sometimes, man.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. And I mean, she doesn't watch the show, but Monday was her 40th anniversary with CM Becker. That's incredible.
Isn't that amazing?
That's
40
incredible.
years.
I sent her a text or a message through Facebook and she didn't reply. And I was like, oh no, Lana probably blocked me. But 40 years with the company. That is incredible. And also it's incredible to me because I forget. I know Todd's always done business with CM Becker before he bought it, but they've been around, I don't know, 44 years? Weren't they existing 4 years before she started? I forget what she had said.
It's been 45 years, I guess.
45, right? I think I think she said that they existed before she started working for him. But it's like with Cat Connection, Todd. You're in your 17th year, but I'm coming up on my 15th anniversary.
Right.
I forget that you existed before I did. Like that Keg Connection was even a thing before I joined the team. But anyways, I actually have some relevant small talk right now. Go to homebrewhappyhour.com. We got a new article and a chart published for people for post for your keg, for giving hints or troubleshooting what post you would need when you are repairing or refurbishing a keg. Todd, you got those calls all the time. People wanting to know, how do I tell which post I need? Because it can be confusing because some were proprietary. Not all posts are universal. Not all kegs can take any kind of post. That's not just talking about ball lock and pin lock. That's also the variety of ball locks there were based on the manufacturer. So you had us create a nice little chart, published on kegconnection.com on the listings, but the actual charts at homebrewhappyhour.com and a full-fledged article. Hopefully that'll help people get directed from Google searching. So or worst case, they call in and you go, hey, we actually have this really convenient chart for you to use. Also going on, I have finally a bumper for it on the screen. We are going to be presenting at HomebrewCon this year in San Diego. It's from June 22nd through the 24th. If you're watching it on YouTube, you can see they're still doing super early bird pricing if you register by April 3rd. And then here's some details about our talk. It's titled Serving Your Homebrew, all about draft beer systems. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to be in San Diego. We're actually driving this year. We're going to stop and see some folks in Arizona on our way. We're going to make a nice road trip out of it. Hopefully, Todd, your neck is feeling better by June. It's gonna be a fun road trip. The last time we road tripped together was Great American Beer Festival 2015, and we know how much fun that was, having me and you.
Oh yeah, that was the first time Josh Brown got to see Texas Tech University. Remember? I'm going to clip this and send it to him. I'll paraphrase real quick. James, we would pass by grain silos all the time, but there was a particularly large one, like 80 miles outside of Lubbock on the other side of it. And he goes, hey guys, is that Texas Tech University?
I remember Todd telling me about that.
So for the rest of the trip, because Todd's such a good person, anytime we drove by a grain silo of any size, he's like, "Hey, Josh, look, satellite campus, Texas Tech."
There's a lot of between here and Colorado, going through Texas, all that. There's a lot of Texas Tech satellite campuses. A lot of them.
We were so insufferable to him. It got to the point where I was going to make a shirt that with the grain silo and the logo.
Well, I framed it and did a wording down below. I put Texas Tech University and framed it and put it on his wall in his office.
Oh gosh,
I just remember him walking in there and being in there for half the day, and then all of a sudden going, "Asshole."
Oh yeah, we still give him grief about it to this day. I love it. That's the thing about Todd. When he finds something that annoys you, he exploits it for as long as it annoys you. I've had to either lie to him about how things don't annoy me or just grow thicker skin. It's been a very healthy 15 years working for you, boss. So yeah.
Thank you.
If you're going to be in San Diego, go to homebrewcon.com, go register, come see us. We don't have a promo code or anything. We don't monetarily benefit from you going, but we want to see you there in San Diego because we're going to do a meetup. We're hanging out with our sponsor booths. I know for sure at Muntins, we're going to be spending a lot of time there. I'm pretty sure we're serving beer we're bringing at the Muntins booth. That's like 95% confirmed. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And because we're driving, we'll have more flexibility of bringing beer and other fun stuff and giveaways. We're going to do a shirt and all that. So with that being said, speaking of shirts and all that, well, let me start with the Trub Club. This month is my favorite recipe. There it is on the screen. The Kolsch. Oh, delicious, nutritious Kolsch that I have to say is my favorite recipe we've ever brewed. If you're brand new to the show, give Kolsch a try. I think you'll like it. Premium ingredients provided from our friends at Muntins. The hops at Hops Direct, and of course, liquid yeast from our friends at Imperial Yeast. They're using the strain Dieter. That's my favorite strain because it makes my favorite beer. You can go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Join a recipe receiving tier. Get yourself this delicious Kolsch. Reminder for Trub Club members who get recipes. Those ship out to y'all the last Monday of the month. So I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there next week. And then I'll be there the following week on that Monday to get it shipped out. So again, go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. And also anybody who's in our Trub Club, boom, on the screen right there. Kolsch Cup 2023, where I was going with that. Anyone who's in the Trub Club at any tier gets half price registration at kolschcup.com. All the details for the dates of needing to register by, getting your beer to us by, and all that. It's going to be the 4th weekend of May that we're doing the actual judging, but all the deadlines in that are available at kolschcup.com. If you're not a member of any tier of our Trub Club, it's $40, which again, we've gone over this on other episodes. That just helps us cover the cost of the overhead of the shirts that we're giving y'all, the grand prize trophy, and mainly shipping. Shipping kind of is expensive these days. So I'm excited. We're getting 40 people to send us 2 bottles of Kolsch or 2 cans of Kolsch. We're going to be judging it. Me, James, Todd, and my pop has committed to being there as well. It'll be similar to 2021, 2 groups of judging, and we'll do it over a weekend, like a Friday, Saturday, and then the grand finale on a Sunday. I cannot be more excited.
It'd be fun having Scott there. I'm looking forward to him hanging out with us.
Yeah, he's going to have a blast. He has a good palate for Kolsch because I've indoctrinated him enough over the years to where I think he knows what's a good Kolsch and what's not. Especially when I've brought the Kolsch before of that local brewery that I won't name. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but we all know who I'm talking about. They don't make that great of a Kolsch, and so my dad knows what the spectrum is of.
You've thrown him under the bus like 100 times. What's stopping you now?
Yeah, have I named them by name? Oh
yeah.
Well, they're never coming on the show. But anyway, again for Kolsch.
Probably not. No.
KolschCup.com for all those details. We actually, as of recording this, we only have 8 spots available to get to our 40 max. So if you're interested in participating in Kolsch Cup and seeing if you can brew the best Kolsch in the land, go to KolschCup.com, click on the registration form. I'll send you a PayPal invoice, and boom, you'll be secured.
What we should have done is an early bird registration, and then once it's over 40, it's like $100 to do it.
No, you You told me though 40. I said, do you remember? So in 2021, James, I don't know if you remember, I didn't consult y'all, and I in my head was like, I'll cap it at 60. And we got to like 49, and Todd was like, 49? Do you know how are we going to be able to judge that over 3 days? 49. And I was like, no, we can't. He reminded me how bad at math I am. He goes, what, you think you're going to drink a 1 ounce and that's it of each one, or half an ounce? And even then, if you did an ounce and a half, what is that going to add up to? You're going to be sloshed by the time you get to the ending judging, and you won't be able to be, sober-minded enough to make good calls. And I was like, okay. So this year, that's why we capped it at 40. Because Todd was adamant that 40 is the sweet spot for 2 groups to be able to judge. I think I could have went with 80. But anyway, we had some issues with registration. That's why it didn't fill up as quick. I had to change at the last minute after all the embedded contact registration forms were going to spam, or they weren't being sent at all. I had to switch it up and use a Google form. So I'm very confident after we publish this episode, it'll be sold out by weekend, by the end of Friday. But again, if you want to brew with us, you could go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour, get that Kolsch recipe. And if you want to use that Kolsch to submit, go to kolschcup.com and register there. It's all Kolsch. I'm going for the world record of how many times.
When is it again?
Kolsch Cup will be the last weekend of May, the 4th weekend of May. The 3rd weekend of May is Emily's graduation.
We got to get t-shirts.
I've already hit up Mark. Man, I'm a step ahead of you. You weren't here last week. I already messaged Marty for the quote, and he got back with me. It did go up. The price has increased, as has everything in the world. But
yeah, let's talk after the recording. There's somebody else we might, just to keep everybody honest, we might trust somebody else. Or you know what? We might have a listener that does that. We get a quote from them.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Well, I almost thought of doing it through we have a merch store, and it's all third party. We don't manage it. So we don't get a very big cut of the sales, but that's how we're able to offer merch. I thought about going through there for a quote, but I don't know what their turnaround would be on such high volume. I have no idea, but you're right. Well, I'll talk to you afterward. I was trying not to bug you last week because you either are in I'm recovering, leave me alone mode, or why wouldn't I be working, idiot? I have a company to run. Like, you don't have a middle ground. It was one or the other. So lately you've been on the micromanaging grind of I'm working. Are you working? I think you've said that to me a couple of times this week. But anyways.
Yeah, it's a legitimate question.
Anyways, I think I got through it in pretty record time. That's all the small talk. So with that being said, it's time for listener feedback. We do have a voicemail listener feedback this week. It's from our buddy Peter from Canada about flow rate when chilling your wort.
Hi, this is your friend Peter from Canada. Josh is great. I have feedback on where you were using the flow rate and trying to guess which flow rate is best and most efficient for cooling your wort with an immersion chiller. My understanding from a thermodynamics perspective is that most efficient from time is to get as much cold water touching as much hot wort as possible. So the higher the flow rate of the water should be faster, but you may waste water. The important part is that you're moving the wort around. So either with a pump or stirring it. But as far as water usage, I like to keep it dialed back right after it is the hottest that it is. Because I find with my experience is that if it's the water that is the hottest coming out of the end, then maybe there's hot water that isn't taking, or there's water that isn't able to absorb some heat. So I like to have a little cold water coming out, just a little bit lower than the highest temperature, if that makes any sense. Keep up the great work. Josh is fantastic, and so is everyone else. Bye.
He doubled down on the sucking up.
He did double down. Yeah.
My kind of guy, Peter from Canada. Todd, we did have a question last week about flow rate, and we kind of discussed how it's contextual because, with the immersion, opening it wide open and all that, it's probably okay. Whereas with like the counterflow or the plate, not like calculating and not having it wide open is more efficient. And again, kind of saving on water and all that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the more water you pump through there, the quicker you're going to cool it down. It's just, at what point is it not worth that amount of water? I mean, I'm on a well. I just take the water out of the aquifer, and then I have the type of drain I have for that water goes right out into the ground. It goes back into the aquifer, so it's recycling the whole time.
You recycle, man. I forgot how much of an environmentalist you are. But I think what we did forget to mention, and it's good that you're on now. You're an basically exclusively immersion chiller user, and you will use your water without aid until you get to about 100. Then you have that secondary chiller that's in a bucket that you will dump ice on, and that will take you from the 100. Isn't it 100 or am I?
I mean, that's what I do in the summer. In the winter, I don't do that. But
you don't have to use the secondary. The second.
Not in the winter.
Oh,
no.
okay. Your groundwater can get you to where you need to be.
Even the problem I have, the groundwater technically should be the same temperature, but it comes a long ways from my well, and it's not terribly far down from the surface, so it cools down a lot in the pipe. It's, I don't know, 100 plus yards, so it's a pretty good way. So it definitely gets cooler than it is coming out of the well. And also, the other thing I think is that on a well you got a pressure tank, and it has quite a bit of water in it, and that gets really cold. Until you start pulling the well water in. Whereas in the summer, man, that water in that pressure tank, it's pretty damn hot. So, it just it depends on your conditions, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Peter, for leaving that voice back. Again, reminder, guys, when you call us and leave a voicemail at 325-305-6107, you get yourself a $25 gift card, whether it's a listener feedback or, like our first question this week from our buddy Zach from Michigan, a voicemail question.
Hey, Todd, Josh, and James. Zach from Michigan. Got a question about CO2 regulators. So what exactly is the difference between a primary and secondary regulator? I understand that the secondary comes after the primary, but if I find somebody who is selling a regulator on, say, Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or something like that, could I pick up that single body regulator and use it as a secondary after my primary regulator? Or are they definitely different, that they are not interchangeable to use a primary as a secondary? I hope this isn't too simple of a question for you guys, but thanks in advance.
There's never too simple a question for Josh Stubing. I bring the simplicity to this show. I'm going to throw it to you, James, first. I know this is, Todd's normally the equipment guy, but the CM Becker regulator has taken off since its launch maybe 6 months ago. I forget how long it's been now since we launched it. You're no stranger to, I've seen you in the assembly line when need be. You are just cranking out primaries, cranking out secondaries. Is the difference in just how they function, or is there a build difference that you do depending on the function you need from that regulator?
Well, first and foremost, a primary is designed to go right onto the cylinder, and a secondary generally has just a barb inlet fitting. So if you found a secondary regulator on Craigslist or wherever, you couldn't use it as a primary because it doesn't have the CGA 320 fitting, which is the fittings designed to fit on a CO2 bottle. So that's the biggest thing. Those parts are available, and I guess in theory the main body is pretty much the same thing. But the primary is obviously on the main tank or your source of CO2. And then, like in Todd's case, and he can explain this better, he's got a really cool kegerator, and he's running multiple secondaries because he can vary pressure from one given keg to another. He can even force carbonate on one because of the fact that he's running secondary. So you just have to bump the pressure up on the primary, and then anything from that pressure down, you could regulate with the secondary.
Todd, do you think that regulators, so he in his hypothetical, I'm on Craigslist. Someone's selling a primary for dirt cheap, but I don't need a primary. I need it as a secondary. Do you feel comfortable telling people like me, if you didn't know me more than surface level, like, gosh, this guy's a village idiot, would you feel comfortable saying, yeah, Josh, buy it and replace the fittings so that the fitting that goes to a tank, you would need the barb inlet, and turning it into a secondary? Is it that easy, or do you recommend people not messing with the fittings?
Well, the first thing you got to realize is there's a lot of different regulators on the market that are still being made, and ones that used to be made, and there's drastic differences between them. So, with the C. Becker regulator, the primary and the secondary can be used interchangeably. The body itself, without any fittings on it, could be used interchangeably. But on a taprite, it's going to have different fittings. So a primary regulator is going to have right hand fittings on the low pressure side, which would be the top gauge and the valve coming out. On the high pressure sides, it's going to have a left hand thread, both 1/4 inch, but left hand thread instead of right hand thread. A lot of regulators in the past have done that, so they have different threads. So you got to be very cognizant of that, or you can end up trying to put the wrong thread in the wrong place and stripping it out and that sort of thing. Some regulators that are secondary might be designed specifically to be secondaries, and they may not be able to handle the pressure of a primary. So you have to know what you're working with, and you definitely want to go on the safe side, because if you were to hook up a regulator to a tank that was not designed to handle that kind of pressure, you could it could blow out, or you could have an accident of some sort that could hurt you or kill you. So the vast majority of the time they probably are somewhat interchangeable. I would be a lot less nervous about using a primary regulator as a secondary as I would be about using a secondary as a primary. So I think you're probably safe going primary, secondary, but not absolutely safe going secondary, primary, if that makes sense.
It does. Okay, I didn't realize that. So are we talking like in even modern times, some regulators are still made that way? Or you mean like, no, original?
No, a lot of regulators
Okay.
are made that way. Possibly the majority are made that way.
Okay.
So Chudnow was not made that way. Ours is not made that way. And there's reasons for it and against it, but definitely, you could definitely have issues. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, that's the Tech Connection legal team in my ear saying, yes, make sure we cover our liability base. No, that's one time. Every time I ask James, like the pressure fermenting question one, and there was some other question I forgot, where you're always like, Josh, just err on the side of caution, tell them don't do it.
Yeah.
Something like it was something like, we just don't want to give bad advice. Like, I agree with what you're saying, Todd. We give that piece of advice for when people are asking, can I drill through whatever side of their fridge? And we're like, there is no blanket answer, yes or no, because you need to just know what the manufacturer did with the product you're using. So like what you're saying, Thomas, right. there are regulators out there where you could get in trouble trying to take a secondary and converting it as a primary.
Yeah,
exactly.
Possibly.
Right. Again, and not to try to be vague on purpose, just that's the nature of the reality. Is different manufacturers did it differently than others.
Right.
But you are saying in confidence, if they're using specifically like a CM Becker one, yeah, have at it. You can convert that to either
you can
way.
with a CM Becker one. You can, again, if you're just trying to build a bank of secondaries and you use some primaries, you can do that, but you've got to get the right thread for that brand of regulator. So
I know that you've helped people with their regulators, like refurbishing them. Like some people have sent you very old regulators and you've gotten them up. Would that be something you think someone, if they're not comfortable changing fittings, they could ship out their regulator to you and you could convert it to a secondary or primary for them?
Yeah, like, I mean, on a case-by-case basis, they could email us and email help@kegconnection.com, and the guy that answers that could get you set away.
I'm just going to forward it to you, right? People know, yeah. Spoiler, I'm help at kegconnection.com right now. And when it's any kind of technical question, I actually usually copy James, and I'll say something like, well, I suck up to him. James is really the brains of the operation, and I'm just an idiot. And it works out. James, you're quick and get them set up. And we actually have gotten I think I forwarded them to you guys, but we've gotten a lot of feedback recently of people like, man, I didn't realize like y'all do the show and you actually do the customer service. Like, yes, we do. When you call the line.
Yeah, we do everything. So one other thing I would add is that, let's say you buy 4 regulators off eBay and you want to do a conversion. Or you want to, they're primary regulators and you want to use them for secondary. Now you got possibly different, either left hand or right hand on different ones, depending on the brand. I mean, it could get fairly complicated. And then you have to ask yourself, why is the person selling it on eBay? I mean, there's a chance that regulator is not functioning. It needs to be rebuilt. And I mean, it's not, it's one of those components that you, in my mind, you want a very well made one because it's high pressure gas and it's not something that you want to screw around with. Some of these really cheap Chinese made regulators that have flooded the market for the last few years. A lot of them are just not very good regulators. Now, some of them are good. It's just, how do you tell which one's good and which one's not? So
I think people, before they accuse you of like a retail bias, you have the most rigorous test I've ever seen people put a regulator through. I mean, that's partially why it took so long before you were satisfied with putting the CM Becker one on the market, because it had to pass your test thoroughly every time. We get samples from India, from China all the time. You put it through the test, and you have probably gigabytes of videos on your phone or of phones past because it's been of you sending it to them. Like, here, you see here where it's creeping now, or this or this or that. Yeah. No, you're right though. There is, I mean, having a poorly built regulator can lead to even just minor headaches of emptying your tank on you because it has a leak somewhere or it's easily leakable, much less the bigger headaches of, man, it might not handle that pressure. And now you've got a rocket in your fridge or garage or wherever you keep your tank. But anyways, yes, Zach. And if you have more questions, obviously email tburns at kegconnection.com, and he'd be happy to assist you with more regular questions. Moving on to our second question. It's another voicemail. Again, reminder, when you call and leave a voicemail at 325-305-6107, you get a $25 gift card like our buddy Christian from Youngstown, Ohio.
Hey guys, it's Christian from Youngstown, Ohio again. Question actually this time about draft systems. I've had to add a couple of taps to my systems. Actually, I have a fridge and a keezer. Due to, I got wife seltzer. She likes a commercial keg though, and then I have so much homebrew that I had to add stuff. So commonly you see, 3/16 inner diameter line, where you can use a 1/4 or a 3/16 bar. We see it all the time, with the swivel nuts. My question is, it seems like everything is 1/4 coming off of the disconnect, and then it goes into a 3/16 line, and that's pretty similar in size. But I've noticed that the 1/4 bars that go on the end of the shank, they seem smaller. And then I looked at the shank, and it actually looks like it's more of a 1/4 diameter shank. So we have different sizes there, and from what I, always thought you're supposed to slowly restrict. I'm not using a flow control. There's reasons for that. So basically with a 3/16 barb at the end of the shank, which is going into a 3/16 inner diameter line, by going into the shank, which seems like it's actually a little bit larger as 1/4, that's creating possibly turbulence. So I didn't know what your thoughts on that are. It seems like everyone acts like you can use either 3/16 or 1/4, they're not that much different. But I'm wondering if this could slightly relate to some foaming issues. Sometimes I have foaming issues, sometimes I don't. probably could be related to the style of beer. So just wondering if you had some advice on that, and then kind of a separate thing. I'm really intrigued by the sale you guys have been doing at K Connection with the kind of the Herm system, but with just the vessels for around 1,500. It's kind of interesting, but don't see a lot of data out there on how to build a controller. So that could be something that's turning some people away from that idea. However, yeah, big difference in price. So appreciate any input you have on that stuff, and you all take it easy and keep up the good advice. Thank you.
Christian, great voicemail. How I build those control panels is I call James and I say, James, can you build it?
Yeah.
No, we'll get to that one at the end, answer it in order. But Todd, this is a Todd Burns question. If I've ever gotten a Todd Burns question, is that little bit of difference on the fittings from the shank and going from quarter to 3/16 or whatever, is that going to be noticeable in the pour? Or, I mean, because that, as far as I know, that's always just been the standard connections of and tubing that we've used.
Yeah. I've never been able to find. I've never found that it makes any difference. So you actually go from quarter to 3/16 quite a bit. So you start out with your disconnect, and it's almost always a quarter, and then you're going to go down your hose, which is 3/16, and then you're going to get to your tailpiece, and your tailpiece is a quarter normally, not 3/16. He mentioned 3/16, but 3/16 is so small that it's really hard to get it to work with the hose. So, what we're using is a 1/4 inch, and then the shank can either be 3/16 or quarter. Going from a 3/16 line up to a 1/4 inch shank at the end, I've never had any issues at all with that. So it's never caused a problem.
Right. And I know, like you just said, the reason why we put the quarter on the 3/16 is a matter of fitting. Of getting it to be compatible with the line, right? Like the 3/16 barb on that would be, I mean, it would it cause leakage? I mean, I'm trying to think of with the issues. I mean, the two.
It's just you gotta. So you'd have to put a clamp on it and clamp it down really, really hard and try to get it to not leak. I mean, it's if you put a 1/4 inch, you have to heat the hose up and force it over, and it's really, really sealed well, so it works well.
I'm going to digress a little. Do you remember one time I did this? And this, I mean, guys, if you place an order before or after 2009, you're safe. But one time, Ben, our original sales guy, he was like, it was on a gas side. It wasn't on the liquid side. He goes, oh, if you can't get it over, just gnaw on it a little and then put it on. I did that one order and you go, what are you doing? I go, oh, he said I could gnaw on it and put it on the line. It was not, no, we heat them up now to get them to go over their fittings. Vilver has those little water heater stations, those, what are the tea heaters? I forget what they call them. Just the immersion heaters.
They're immersion coffee. People used to always use them in hotels when they were traveling to heat water up for coffee or tea.
That's what it was. Yeah. We have a ton of those now. That's what we're putting it on. But that just brought me back to one of the first times you yelled at me. But with the fittings, I mean, I think, I've watched your foam video probably 1,000 times because every time I send it to someone, I go, does it cover that thing that I just told him it probably did? And I'll rewatch it. You didn't go over fittings really on that. Is it because in all of the troubleshooting you've done, like you said, you just haven't found a reason to believe the 1/4 to 3/16 is a factor at all?
Yeah, you're not going to have a problem. Yeah.
Okay. I know, like I said, that's just always been the standard. I can't think of even other people in the retail space that aren't doing it that way.
I mean, they do make 3/16 and 1/4 inch, ID shanks, and it depends on the manufacturer and what's available. So, it just depends on a lot of times what we can get. But I would say by far the most common one is 1/4 inch, not 3/16. That's what the vast majority of people use. You're doing a pretty smooth transition between those two. So you're not going to, now it won't restrict as much as the 3/16, but the amount of restriction in that shank is so negligible that it doesn't really matter.
Right. And I'm not, again, purposely trying to stretch it out, but you're talking about the fittings this whole time. With tubing, I was just going to mention, we use 3/16 instead of quarter for the calculation of restriction. You'd have to use so much more 1/4 inch line to get proper
15 or 16 feet.
Right. As opposed
to equal 5 feet of 3/16.
Exactly. Right. And then he obviously said there's reasons why he's not doing flow control, but I'll mention it because it's worth mentioning. I use 5/16 tubing on that, and I use 3 feet or 2. I will use as little as we have to.
Yeah, I use 5/16 as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because you and James, do you have flow control at home, or do you not use flow control?
No.
You don't?
No, I'm just running 3/16 at home.
Okay, yeah. So your setup is 5 feet or whatever of 3/16 line going into. What are you using V2Gs? Why don't you have flow control at your house?
We actually rolled out that RV 900, the ball faucet, and I was just testing them, so that's what I have right now.
I didn't know that. I love those. Are cool looking. Those rotary valves, those are super.
Yeah, I have one on my tap right now. That's where my mead's coming out of. So
that's right. You do have mead on tap. Really, really good. His mead is actually too smooth because it's, what did it finish at? 18%?
You know, I screwed up and I lost the original gravity. And, a year later, I had a very good idea of what it was, and it's somewhere right in the 18 to 21% range.
Yeah. My point being, the first night I was trying it, I had, I don't know, a 7-8 ounce pour. And after it, I was like, I don't know if I should have another. It is too smooth.
Yeah. It's like 40 proof. So if you drink a glass, if you had 2 shots of it, it's like a shot of whiskey, right?
Yeah.
So,
I felt it. My cheeks were more flushed than usual. I was like, let's record a podcast right now. Let's do it. But back to the question. No, I think this is one that could warrant feedback. People listening to this go, no, Josh, I use a 3/16 shank, and here's why. And Todd, you're wrong. I've noticed this. If you have feedback for this question, leave it in the comments below at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. Or if you're an audio only listener and you want to get yourself a gift card, or if you're a video listener and you want to get yourself a gift card, 325-305-6107. But I do want to say, because I forgot before we recorded, I was talking to you, Todd, we do have a surplus of feedback. We'd love your voicemail questions. I have a lot, but we get every week, I'm getting almost 10 voicemails now of feedback. And last week you weren't here, so I did a double feature, Todd. I gave away more of your money than I should have last week, but I can't do that every week. So if you're going to leave a voicemail and it's feedback, it better be really good. Or you can just leave us a voicemail question. I'm probably a lot more likely to use that, as we have some, but I'd like having a database of questions more than the feedback. But anyways, we appreciate all the calls or any of that. And Christian, we appreciate you calling in. It is a voicemail heavy episode. This third.
Well, we didn't mention the controller.
Thank you so much. James keeping me honest there. I was about to move on to our third and final question of the show, but you're right. The controller one. So the sale is still going on for those. I made them live this week. We had a newsletter go out. I don't know if that's why he called in. We're promoting it. They've been popular. I actually delivered one to a buddy. I say buddy to everyone we ever do business with. To a customer, he's a buddy now, in San Antonio, or on the outskirts of San Antonio. It loves it. You got it all set up. It is a incredible price point for what you get. $1,500-ish for the fittings, the tubing, it's basically everything but the controller and what comes off the controller. So James, that kind of has always been your baby. Explain, what is the workload behind it? I assumed if you buy one from any of the websites that offer them, that it's pretty much just following directions, but do you have to be mechanically inclined to do this?
No, you can buy them. You can buy them already assembled. They use basic heating elements that most everybody that has an electrical brewing system offers. They're tri-clamp heating elements, 220 volt. You got to have, our system is what, Todd, 30 amp dedicated 220 or 240?
Yeah. I think even Blickman makes one that's real simple, right?
The brew controller is what I think they call it, or brew command, brew commander,
yeah.
brew controller.
You just need something to regulate either power on the element or temperature. And there's lots of resources online. There's a lot of resources on YouTube on how to build them. I think that if you just Google in Herms controllers in Google, you'll find a lot of websites. There's one website, I can't think of the name. It's got detailed instructions and part lists on how to do it. It walks you step by step. So there's a lot of people out there that Clawhammer Supply has controllers. Blinkman makes controllers.
Warthog, isn't that the name of the website you're talking about? Isn't it Warthog?
Yeah, I remember something like that.
There's Auburn's, which is the company that supplies they designed a specific kit for us because we there were some things that we wanted to do differently than their kit, but they do offer they call it their Brew Buddy, and you can get it assembled or you can get it in kit form. If you're not comfortable doing electronics, because we're talking about a lot of current, a lot of stuff in there, you can get them pre-built. So that's a big hit because they're not cheap. They take a while to put together, but you can get them kit form. You can build them your own by buying parts off the internet, or if you have the ability to just buy it from a company that's like electricbrewery.com. They sell controllers.
them too. Yeah, Electric Brewery is like the standard right now for resources.
They've got touch screen and then they got apps that interface with your phone.
Yep.
Sky's the limit on Herms controllers. The reason why we decided to do the 1500 3-vessel kit is you choose the controller you want. The basic parts are in there in those 3 boxes. So just add a controller and everything else is there all the way down to the pumps.
Yeah, and when the feedback on that has been just as good as the feedback on the Brow Tag fully, where people are like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is incredible. Because some people did want, they didn't need the bells and whistles maybe of the Brow Tag controller, or they just wanted to save the money and do it themselves. You've priced them out. Is like someone like me, and y'all know how mechanically declined I am, I would probably look for a kit like on Electric Brewery or Warthog or whatever and get it. But is the price difference that big to where if someone does feel comfortable, you'd say, yeah, dude, just get the kit and do it yourself because you're going to save 30%, or I'm making up a number, but is the price difference?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It just depends on what you want in the controller. You want super simple, like Blinkman offers one separate controller for the Herms and one separate controller for the boil. That's about as simple as you're going to get. Or if you can get a combo set up, kind of like what we offer with the full-blown Brautag, where it's got a Herms controller, it's got a mash, and it's got a boil.
Yeah.
Everything in there, along with the controller, the switches for the pumps and the master switch. And, it's Auburn's, they sell all those parts individually too, from the switches to the wire, to the temperature sensors, all of that stuff, the PIDs. All of that.
As far as
that's a good resource.
As far as manufacturing goes, they are the top of the top. That's why you went with Auburn's. Auburn's makes good stuff, and it's
what they do. I mean, that's all they're doing. They're doing sous vide controllers, barbecue pits. Like the pellet stoves controllers. Anything that's involving temperature control, they have it in regards to cooking and brewing. It's a one-stop shop for sure.
Absolutely. Todd, I interrupted you. Were you going to add something?
Just that, when people look at the price of the Brautag and the one without the controller, sometimes I think they may look at it and go that when something's too good to be true, it probably is. But really the reason it's so affordable is because a lot of that stuff that we purchased during COVID, before prices started to really go up on things. So, we still have inventory where we paid considerably less than what we would have to pay today to source those same components.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I just tell people you're a good person. That's what I was telling them. Why is the price?
Well, it just goes to show on the price point how much price is an issue with the controller.
Oh yeah,
because you're looking at a controller that's probably the same. If you purchase a pre-built controller, it's going to be $1,500.
Yeah. I didn't know that, but I believe it. Yeah.
For the kind that we sell with the full system, it'll be around that price. Or now, like Todd said, maybe even more. I haven't priced them lately.
Yeah. I don't want to go Horst Dornbush doom and gloom on the show, but yeah, everything's expensive. My taxes just went up. Grocery bill, don't want to talk about it. Everything's going up. But yeah, but it is a heck of a deal, and it's live at the homepage. Go to kegconnection.com. You'll see the banner there. Click on it. Quantities are limited. We still have some on the shelf that can go out. But if you're interested in doing a DIY Herm stain, that is the project for you. And like James said, if you're mechanically inclined, you can source parts and literally build your own. You can go to a site and buy a kit, or the Joshua Stubing recommendation, go get yourself a pre-built one and just piece it together. And
if you go to the Electric Brewery is the site that has them pre-assembled, and they offer them in kits. I'm not even going to mention the price.
Oh, what is it? $2,000, $2,500, $3,000? Yeah, just shaking your head.
But they're the top dogs. They have good stuff.
They are. And we had the pleasure of meeting them. Well, there's two sites. I always forget. One is the Electric Brewery, but we're talking about Electric Brewing, where we met them. They had a booth at the last Homebrew Con we were at in person. Remember? Super nice. They drank all your alt beer. That's what I remember them from. Remember they kept coming over. Wasn't that electricbrewing.com? Those people that kept coming over and drinking all your alt beer?
I think so.
Well, I'm pretty confident they were, because we'd have a long line, and then he'd walk around and like small talk with us, like, "Oh yeah, we're booth friends," and then go over there and pour himself one to skip the line and go back. Good people. We love everyone in the industry. But anyways, yes, thank you for keeping me honest, James, and answering all of Christian's questions. Moving on to our third and final question of the show. It is another voicemail, and it's our buddy Marty from Omaha.
Hello, gentlemen. This is Marty from Omaha. I'm trying pressure fermentation for the first time, and I have a question for you. Essentially, the Spunding Valve, I have one of those blow tie ones, is acting as the blow-off tube. And so a lot of beer comes through there. And number one, is that okay? Is that how it works for you? Do you have a lot of bubbles and beer coming out that? And secondly, does that need to be probably cleaned really well when I get done with this? Just a simple question about what you guys seem to be experts on. So, Peach Pilsner coming up. Have a good day.
I like it. A couple of things. I always love Marty from Omaha. I always think of Jack Daniels and Mountain Dew when I think of Marty from Omaha. But but I also love that he subtly acknowledges that we are the experts on pressure fermentation. I mean, we are. We just
thanks to Jonathan. I think he's actually the sensei.
I've gotten feedback though for people like, you just speak with such confidence, and so I just exploit that. Like, oh yeah, we pressure fermented for like 4 months. We are the experts. We are.
That's all I've done since
it is actually all
we got
you do.
The Spunding Valve. I've not brewed any other way.
So I'm gonna let you take a jab at it first. When I've used it for pressure, the Krausen was not high, like it wasn't vigorous enough or enough volume to where it was a blow-off tube. I didn't have a blow-off tube. I had a lot of head space because it was a 10-gallon batch and a 15.9-gallon fermenter. So I haven't had that issue. You and Todd both get real vigorous fermentation. And when Todd specifically does batches to where it's the top of the top and there's almost no headspace. But I'll still let you go first with it, James. Have you even had this issue to where you're using it as a blow-off tube as well?
The under pressure the Krausen doesn't seem to form as high. You can see that in the clear fermenter when you use a Spunding Valve. And I think maybe that's because the pressure has something to do with that. It kind of keeps it at bay. But I haven't had, I think I had one issue where I'd actually put the Spunding Valve, you got to look at the arrow and you got to put it back together correctly. And I put it together wrong, and it wasn't splending. It wasn't releasing pressure. So when I did go to try to sample it, I noticed the pressure gauge was pegged, and it scared the crap out of me because I thought, I could touch this wrong and it explodes. But I haven't had any problem with it. It is a good idea to clean that real good. The ones that you get for more beer, the plastic Spunding Valves, they take apart real easy, and they're easy to flush out with warm water and put back together. There's only 4 screws holding the gauge. and they seem to work really well. The diaphragm and the adjuster screws plastic, and I've taken apart and had to clean it because I got foam. I got beer trub in that Spunding valve, and I had to take it apart and clean it. It seemed to work fine. Blow it out real good, get it dry, and put it back together correctly. Make sure that the arrow that's pointing the outlet, and you want to make sure that you, if whatever Spunding valve you use, read the instructions and consult with the manufacturer on what is best for that. That's the safe way to go.
Yeah, and the one he said he's using is the one we use as well, that blow tie from Kegland, which we got from our friends.
We carry it on the site too.
We do. We have it at
It's a great product, and it's worth the money.
I'll put it in the show notes. For people who are listening, if you've never gone to the show notes, or if you're at YouTube, you can go down below and you'll see I always have links for the products we're discussing. And when I say I'm going to link it and I don't, just call me out in the comments. But I'm usually pretty good about putting links in there because Todd follows up on it. But yeah, we do sell a lot of that in the duotite section because it has become extremely popular. A ton of brewers, home brewers, utilizing pressure fermentation. Now, Todd, I did throw you under the bus a few minutes ago because when you ferment, when I was up there last and you brewed, was it the English mild, the last thing you brewed and put in that all-rounder, that 15.9 gallon all-rounder?
Yeah.
And you and I remember, no, it was your Irish Red. That's what it was. Because
I did it with both of them.
Right, but the last time I was up there, I was drinking your English mild. But your Irish Red, I took a photo of us because we were doing the corn mash, and then the other day we were doing a brew day, and it was to the brim, and people were commenting like, "I think Todd left I think there's a little bit more space in there. He could have put more wort in." You're the king.
Yeah, that's true. We could have. I kind of missed out on that opportunity. So.
I don't remember if you did that on pressure or not. Did you have the Spunding?
So it did start to go through through not the Spunding valve, but a lot was coming out on the tube. And what I did is because I don't usually pressure ferment ales, I just pressure ferment lagers. So what I did is I actually put the Spunding valve on there and put it at 10 psi to calm it down for a day or so, and then I took it back off and put the blow tube back on.
Interesting. And that actually, I get this question a lot. Let's address that too. You in that instance put the Spunding valve after pressure had already formed up, and that's how you were able to set it to 10 on the built-in regulator on the Spunding valve, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, James, if you just received your Spunding valve in the mail and you want to get it set from the moment you have the wort in there, is that possible, or do you? Like, here's what I did. I set it on a keg. I put some pressure in the keg, put that on.
Yeah, that's the best way.
Isn't it? Okay.
That's exactly, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought, because I have people who have ordered it and go, how do you set this thing? And I'm like, well, here's how I set it. I use an empty keg that I'm going to purge anyway for work that's going to go in there, or beer that's going to go in there later. And you can use that to set it. And then from the minute one that wort is in the fermenter, the regulator is set, and I keep an eye on it, but I don't have to.
You could also, I mean, if you don't have an extra keg, you can always just put 10 psi in there, or it'll probably be more than 10 psi, and get it adjusted that way. It won't hurt to pressure it up.
No, absolutely. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. That is my alternative option would be, yes, to do it that way, where you quickly just pressurize the fermenter that can handle pressure. Again, Keg Connection legal team in my ear. Always use a vessel that can handle pressure, and you can pump some CO2 into there, and then set it that way. But we did that question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think somebody would be pressure fermenting on one that couldn't handle pressure, unless they just weren't thinking at all.
Had a death wish. I don't know. You say that. What is I know those 2 liters can handle pressure, but sometimes I wonder how much pressure
they can handle a lot of pressure. Yeah.
That's what you.
No, because they're carbonated at a very high pressure already.
I know.
And then they leave them. They let them drive down the road in Texas in a truck when it's 105 degrees. Those things are under some pressure when they're over 100 degrees and they're in that bottle.
I know, but I still have trauma from you holding it in my face with the CO2, the 20-ounce bottle, going, Josh, come here. What's that noise? Josh, come here. Oh my God. Yeah. We were on.
I actually saw a truck drive over one and it didn't pop.
Stop. Are you serious?
Yep.
Whoa.
Yep.
But also though, aren't some rated for more than others? Like, I mean, because there's some that are thicker lined. Is that just a manufacturer choice, or is that to keep it safer? I always forget, because some soda bottles are obviously thicker.
Well, soda
others.
bottles are the thick ones. I think you're thinking of water bottles. They're the thin ones.
Right. Yeah. But like, yeah, the Topo Chico bottles, the plastic ones seem 10 times more carbonated than the glass bottle. And that's how I prefer Topo Chico. So it doesn't bother me, but it does bother me when Todd just picks up a random 2-liter and like, let's shake this in front of Josh and see how that works out. But
yeah, it wouldn't bother me at all. Those things are amazingly strong.
I'm a coward, James. I'm a coward. Anyways, Marty, thank you so much for submitting that question. As always, guys, let us know in the comments what you think about our answers. Unless you have nothing nice to say, then don't say it at all. But leave us a voicemail feedback, or more importantly, leave us your question. Get yourself a $25 gift card when you call it into 325-305-6107. More of Todd's money going out to the community. Guys, I appreciate y'all's time. Before we recorded, I said, I'll make it quick, and we went long again. I jinxed us, but I do appreciate y'all's time. Todd, I hope you get good rest today. James, I'll catch you next week, my friend.
Okay.
Thanks.
See you later, guys. And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or call and be Todd's best friend by leaving us a voicemail at 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsors like Munton's Malt, premium grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Munton's Malt, give them a try by visiting txbrewing.com or join our Chub Club at a recipe receiving level. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of Imperial yeast along with premium recipes when you join our Chub Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.